Hey everybody, Tom Coyle talking about organizational culture. The Pittsburgh Steelers are 0-2. 0-2. But you know what, Steelers fans? There's a positive. This year they are without a cancer in that locker room. We all know who he is. That's right. Ben Roethlisberger, who is now out for the season. It wasn't Antonio Brown, not Le'Veon Bell. It was Ben Roethlisberger and his enablers in the front office. Now, first of all, I do not like to see players injured. I hope Ben Roethlisberger recovers and is able to play the game he loves. But I do hope he has a major attitude adjustment. Now, let me walk you through all of this. Ben Roethlisberger has a habit of calling out teammates while taking no accountability for himself. Santonio Holmes, there's a receiver I think people might respect. Everyone has a lot of great accolades to say about him. He even made complaints about how Ben Roethlisberger does that. Last year, there was a great example when they were talking about how he was calling out Antonio Brown in his talk show and other players. Someone had asked Ben Roethlisberger about his own performance, specifically an interception he threw in that game. And Ben Roethlisberger, instead of accepting accountability for it, being accountable, he made excuses. Oh, well, who anticipates a defensive lineman going back into coverage? To quote Colin Cowherd, let me tell you who did. Tom Brady. And that's why he is not a Tom Brady. And this whole thing, and even Ben Roethlisberger, he says I've earned the right to call out people. Rule of thumb, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. How many organizations, would you call something a good organization if a leader in your organization kept calling out people lower in the organization? If the CEO was publicly calling out his senior vice presidents all the time, what kind of organization would you call that? Dysfunctional. Same for the NFL. And he did this all the time. And Antonio Brown was fine. You didn't hear much about Antonio Brown until really last year and this year. I mean, before that, he was a good player. Everyone loved him. He was great. But what happened? Big Ben. And let's talk about Big Ben a little bit. When this was all coming out about the way he calls out teammates, the general manager releases a statement, and to paraphrase that, he said, Ben Roethlisberger has earned the right to call out anybody in this organization. He can call it the head coach if he wants to. He's got 53 kids he's got to lead. So let's break this down. First off, the general manager is saying that he can call out anybody to include the coach. The coach. How is the coach supposed to set the tone in the culture if a player is now perceived to have more authority than the coach? That's already wrong. I mean, Mike Tomlin's a good coach. He's won the big game. And this is an example why. He is under a culture created by the front office that's making his task something he's going to fail at. But Ben Roethlisberger and this culture, let's look at what has happened before we start blaming these other guys. The best running back in football, Le'Veon Bell, the best receiver in football, Antonio Brown, have decided they're just going to leave the Steelers because of that behavior. Now, some of you are saying, well, he's the quarterback. He should be able to call out players. Okay, I mean, maybe, but check this out. When's the last time you heard Tom Brady call out a teammate? Ever. Yeah, no, doesn't happen. In fact, let's take it a step further. Bill Belichick. We still don't know why he kept Malcolm Butler on the bench in the Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles. We have no idea why. We all can assume he did something to piss Belichick off, but whatever he did, we don't know because they keep that crap in-house. Ben, when he comes back to football, should think about doing that more often. And yeah, it's fine calling out teammates like when Tom Brady, I've seen Tom Brady in the sideline getting in somebody's face. No issue with that. It's just Tom Brady doesn't do it on camera. Tom Brady doesn't do it on the radio. And you look at that culture. Tom Brady's even mentioned one thing he likes about how Belichick runs things. Nobody has any special privileges. He gets to be one of the guys, which is why the Patriots, year in and year out, are always in the discussion for Super Bowl contention. Big Ben, meanwhile, not only does he do whatever he wants and calls out people, he gets special privileges. We're learning now that one of the reasons that his backup has more reps, at least in preparation with the starting lineup, is that Ben takes a rest day on Wednesdays. A rest day. Now, the organization agreed to it. Okay, fine. Tom Brady, when's the last time you heard about Tom Brady taking a rest day? I don't think the guy knows how to rest, which is why he's Tom Brady and Ben Roethlisberger is Ben Roethlisberger. Tom Brady doesn't rest. He plays by the same rules everybody else does. He doesn't have special Tom Brady rules like Ben Roethlisberger apparently has in Pittsburgh, which is why one organization was underperforming in the last few years, Pittsburgh Steelers, and one was overperforming. The New England Patriots are winning Super Bowls with a roster consisting of mostly unheralded players because they get the best out of them. They've got a great organizational culture. Meanwhile, the Steelers have probably one of the most talented rosters, or had one of the most talented rosters in football, and they missed the playoffs last year. Culture, that is the difference. That's it. And guess what? I think, I watched the backup. I think it's Hudson was his last name. I don't remember the guy's last name, but I saw him for those couple plays. Man, talk about a guy who looks like he wants to be there, a guy who looks like he was prepared to play, and a guy who seems to be gelling well with his teammates. Kind of looks a little like Tom Brady that season he took over for Bledsoe. In fact, I'm going to say here right now, I think Roethlisberger just got Bledsoed because even when he comes back healthy next year, which I hope he does, he's going to be the backup. And if he wants to play, he's going to have to get released or traded or whatever. And I'm sure if he wants to play, he will find a starting job somewhere. It's just not going to be in Pittsburgh. And I hope he comes back. I hope he learns some lessons. I hope he becomes more humble. Because right now, he was the guy destroying an entire football team. Yes, Ben Roethlisberger. It's easy to blame these other players. Receivers tend to be divas. We tend to look at them as divas. And on the surface, it looks like Antonio Brown, for example, is a problem. Because we look at his behavior with the Raiders, we say, oh my God, look what's going on here. But I think there's more to the story here. Again, it was only his last 2 years in Pittsburgh that Antonio Brown started being a problem, which coincided with Ben Roethlisberger being more and more public about in-house crap, team crap that should stay in-house that he talks about on the radio and press and everywhere else. I mean, who wants to work for a guy like that, right? So that was increasing. Then he goes to the Raiders and it's like, well, why did he act like that for the Raiders? Well, reading between the lines, there's only one place Antonio Brown wanted to go, the New England Patriots. He's the best receiver. He wants to go to the best team. And New England all too happy to have him. One problem, the Steelers weren't going to trade him to the Patriots. And I get that. If I'm the Steelers, there's no way I'm giving him to the Patriots. So I get that. So he ends up with the Raiders. Now for him to go to the Patriots, he can't just say, hey, John Gruden, thanks for giving me the shot. I'm just not happy here. I'm going to go play somewhere else. I mean, that's what I get to do in my job. Hey, you know what? Not happy here. Yeah, I just want to go somewhere else. That's what most of us can do. He has no recourse to do that. The only thing he can do, the only way he's incentivized to do is to act like an ass so that the Raiders say, okay, enough, we're letting you go. He leaves, and now he's exactly where he wants to be. I mean, frankly, how many of us would, if you knew you wanted this is your dream job, you want to be with this organization, and the path to do that is to act like an ass? I'd be tempted. If I knew that, if I did that and knew I was going to get what I wanted to, I'd be tempted. I'd be really tempted. So anyway, time will tell. Because if Antonio Brown goes to the Patriots and he does what I think he's going to do, and he, as the Patriots have done with problem people like Corey Dillon and Randy Moss, he's going to play there and do very well there. And I think you're going to see a change. He's going to be happy. And it's not going to be about whether he gets the ball all the time or not. It's going to be about the fact that he's with an organization that doesn't air out its dirty laundry. So I think he's going to be a massive success. Tom Brady gets another ring. Antonio Brown gets his first. And they get another ring next year. That's how it's going to be. So there you go. What are your comments? Let me hear from you. Do you have a different idea, different take? Maybe you agree with me. I'd love to hear what you think. Let's debate this. Let's talk about this. And I wonder your thoughts on culture. Who's got the best culture in the NFL? Please subscribe, follow me, reach out, comment, like, and share. Thanks. Enjoy football season.